Hello and welcome to the first in a series of videos where I share my non-spoiler thoughts on each episode of the brand new season of Doctor Who. Starting of course with the first two stories, Space Babies and The Devil's Cord, both penned by Russell T Davies. If you enjoy these videos, be sure to keep up with them as we go along, and make sure if you haven't already to hit the subscribe button, turning on notifications, liking and commenting. And without further ado, let's get into it. To begin with, I think I'll start off by talking about the decision to air both episodes back to back. Personally, I can see the benefits and the detractors for this creative decision, but personally I feel that it kind of meant that episode 1 got a little bit buried, because as much as I enjoyed that first episode, there is so much more to talk about in regards to The Devil's Cord, with it being Doctor Who's fully fledged musical episode, that a more standard space station horror comedy story kind of gets a bit lost. With that said, I did notice some interesting parallels between the two episodes. How they handle tone, as well as how they handle the new, more fantastical elements that Russell has started to introduce. On the one hand, you have episode 1, which is very much horror and comedy mixed together, and on the other you have episode 2, which is very much over the top camp and fantastical with moments of sinister undertones. And you've got the two new villains, the Bogeyman and Maestro, who both in their own way show off the great way that having more fantasy rather than focusing on hard sci-fi can make Doctor Who a bit more creative. And I think something that is really interesting is how it implements the recurring plot point of history being slightly messy this season. You have some moments where it's played for laughs and quick jokes, and others where it is a major plot point and is taken really seriously. They do a good job making sure that the audience knows that this is important, but doesn't really make it homework where you have to remember it. These two episodes are relatively standalone. It's just thematically this sort of stuff is going to be coming up as we go along, and they'll probably call back to it, so hopefully the arc is a bit more satisfying than others we've seen across the previous seasons of Doctor Who. If I were to give a favourite of the two, I would definitely say it would be The Devil's Cord. I've been really looking forward to Doctor Who doing something a bit more experimental, and doing a musical is such a fun idea. A lot of people weren't really keen on it, but I feel that there are three major factors which made me okay with this storytelling shake-up. From a creative standpoint, it takes the basic celebrity historical plot where the Doctor and said historical figure fight an alien with an ironic gimmick, and gives it a new way of telling that story. It is narratively justified because of Maestro, a villain that controls music, so therefore it would make sense for characters to be speaking in song, and it is thematically justified because the story is about musicians, of course, the Beatles, and so I think everything comes together to make it really work. I think they went full out with the costumes, with the performances, with the directing. It was just incredibly fun. These two episodes I wouldn't say are perfect. Some of the elements didn't quite work for me, like there are occasionally jokes which I found a bit grating. Personally, I prefer dark, cynical humour over wacky hijinks with Murray Gold's loud music, but some of the jokes I thought were pretty funny, like the butterfly effect gag. That was pretty good. For me, the highlight of these two stories, and I think for many people, have been Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson as the Doctor and Ruby. So far, they are one of the most likeable TARDIS teams of the modern era, and they have such great chemistry. I think both actors really settled into the musical aspect, as both of them are really good at singing and performing. and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where things go for their characters over the next few episodes. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the season premiere. What did you think of episode 1 and 2? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time where I discuss the return of Stephen Moffat.